welcome to Morgan, Brayton, and Other People. When I was a teenager, for a short time, my mom was a Mary Kay lady, and she was very proud that she was a Mary Kay lady and not an Estee Lauder woman, because she thought that was kind of slutty. And back in the day, being a slut was about the worst thing that you could be. Now times have changed, and women are embracing that word. We've got the slut walk, you're not allowed to slut shame, and you can get t-shirts and socks with the S word on them. So I guess that slut Estee Lauder got the last laugh. I have just said slut more times in the last minute than I have said in my life, and I don't think I'm gonna stop anytime soon, because today on the show, we're talking the S word. Ladies.
Hi, Morgan.
Ladies who are not sluts. I should have thought of a different segue, because that just fell flat. You look lovely and slutty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too, Morgan. You too.
Oh,
The slutty
thank you.
blazer. Yeah. Oh, stop. Comes off very easily.
We have do we have a slutty cocktail today?
Well,
Who brought the cocktail today?
I brought the cocktail
Okay.
today. However, much to Miss Erica's demise, I decided since we're doing sluts today, I would bring a virgin cocktail in honor of Miss Katie Allen. Who is
because I don't care for
angelic,
alcohol as
because
much?
you don't
right.
like to drink and you've
I'm
never
a
spread
prude.
your legs, and because she don't like sex.
I will drink to Katie Allen's purity.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Ugh, yuck. Do not care for that.
Oh, no, I said vodka in yours, Erica.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's just jump right into it. What do we, like I said, it used to be when I was young, you didn't call somebody that. That was like terrible, terrible business. But now, people don't mind so much. Are you a slut?
No.
Wait, maybe we should back that up. How do you define it? What is a slut?
I don't even know.
She's been in a relationship for 47 years. She has no idea.
I guess, but in high school, you did call people. That was the thing. Oh, she's such a slut.
But it could be a term of endearment too. Like my little sister's like, oh my God, you look so great, you little slut.
No, I don't.
Your sister a gay man?
That is how she talks.
We've
Like
had
a
a lot
gay
of
man.
influence in recent years.
I think it's a girl or a woman who gets around. And that was a bad thing. And now it's a good thing. Yay!
I said love. First of all, I want to love that you said, who gets around? Like you're such a lady. Like you're my mom right now. It's adorable.
Oh, that got weird fast. I feel like we're just going to throw it to this end of the table because, Robyn,
Yes.
you get around.
Well, I've been known to get around a little bit. And here's the thing. I didn't, when I was younger, grew up in a very religious home, as you know, and I didn't sleep with anybody. And then I had long-term relationships, 2 or 3, through my 20s. And at 29, I became single, and for a year, I f***ed everything and anything. I was like, this is my year. I'm just going to experiment. I'm going to do whatever I want.
It's like
and
breaking Amish.
I
Like
know.
let's do it.
I just did, like, at parties, I was like, like one party, I don't want to even tell.
No.
stories. I saw myself. And then when that year finished, I came out as a lesbian. So I think it was good that I took it and I figured out what I want and what I like, and literally that I didn't take it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and now I don't have a negative feeling
You think you just
towards
had
it.
penis exhaustion? Like, do you think like you were like, do I like women or am I? I'm just you know when you find a new food that you love and you're like, I'm gonna have this salad every day, and then you're just like, ugh, I cannot have this salad anymore.
Am I a lesbian? Or am I just tired of this salad?
I think that's could be. I think you're onto something, Erica. I think you're
I
onto
don't know,
something.
what is how long before you can eat that salad again, so to speak?
At least 10 years for me so far.
Did everybody have one of those years? Is that a thing?
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't. And I wish I had.
Me too.
Now I hear about this
I just
year.
thought I thought I was going to, and I remember I had like a real panic right towards the end of my 29, like before I turned 30. I was like, oh, 29, I should have done it then. Like, oh,
Yeah.
20s is so much more unaccountable. I should have. And
When I was like in high school, it's like if you had slept with, like how many guys you had slept with, and that number was supposed to be under 10, and
Right.
so it was like that's why you always have
school?
no, like growing up. Yeah.
It had to be it had to be under 10 in high. Like there was a chance people were over 10 in high school.
Oh well, there was definitely some. Well, we had a daycare in my high school.
Okay.
There was a daycare in my high
town.
school.
She's from a very small town.
But reading in Cosmo was always like, how many guys, if your boyfriend asks how many guys you slept with, what should you say? And you're like, more than 3, but less than 10. And that meant that you were okay.
That's the
So it
range?
was, yeah, and so it's like,
it's a box you just check off on a form.
My friends though, where they tell me, and I don't have many. I'm going to be honest. I haven't been
Friends?
Oh.
No, we were clarifying. That's what it sounded like.
No, I have a ton of friends. Just people that I've slept with. I
Right.
don't, and my number is not high, surprisingly,
Right.
for the
those
whore
were
that
in
I
your
am.
purse.
But that's why, because I'm not having any sex with anybody. That's why I have so many condoms.
Scares them
No,
away.
but I do it. Like I'm a make-out bandit. Like I like to make out with people that I'm not quick to jump right into the sack. So my number is a little bit low, and I've had really long-term relationships over the years. But when I talk to some of my friends that were just single through all of their 20s and into their 30s, and they're like they're like, I don't know, probably like maybe 100. I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm like shocked that that's even. And they're like, I'm like, do you even know? How can you remember? She's like, no, there's probably 150, but I just can't remember a lot of them. I'm like,
Oh my God.
It depends how you do the math. It's like any statistic, right? Like if you say 150, you're like, that's so many. But then, yeah, if you break it out that they weren't in relationships, and then if you actually look at how often they were having sex, it's not often.
not
If it's
that
just like you
bad.
only have it one time with each person.
Katie Ellen dropping some stats.
Yeah.
So let's break this down.
Let's get to the
She's
math
got the
of this.
timetable that comes down like this.
sometimes it's dipping and then it's up again.
Is it different for straight women than for queer women?
Looking at us.
What are your numbers like? Give us a range.
Here's a conversation I had with my current boyfriend. We were discussing this when we first started dating, and he was like, "So what's your number?" And then I was like, "Ooh, you don't even want to know what my number is." And then now he's just like throwing that at me every time. I'm like, "So when do you think we're gonna have dinner?" He's like, "Oh, you don't even want to know when we're gonna have dinner today." So it really backfired on me, guys.
Is it really that big though? It can't be that big.
It's not. It's in the 20 range.
Yeah.
It's
not
decent.
100
That's decent. You know, I've only had 2 long-term relationships, and I am 29, so I feel like that's a
you're
reasonable number. But he
For a
did
slut,
not
sure,
think
but-
so.
I love when I would, like, when I'd get out of a relationship, I'd be like, all right, slut, here I come. For like about 3 days, and I'd be like, oh, too much shaving, forget it.
It's a lot of work.
It is, right? It's exhausting.
Well, I mean, why? Who cares? You're not going to see these people again. Why are you going to put so much effort into them?
Well, you gotta seduce them in the first place.
By the time they're getting anywhere near that, they are seduced, my friend. Let me be clear.
I used to be a slut shamer.
Oh, do tell.
So yeah, when in my late teens and early 20s, I was like very quick to call girls sluts, like behind their back. I was, as I mentioned, was basically in a frat.
Right.
And so that was part of just the rhetoric of that's how we talked. And I was like, I want them to like me. I really wanted them to like me the way they liked sluts, but they did not. So yeah, it was mostly jealousy for me. And I was like, I thought I was so clever. And I'd like talk, oh, this girl, that. I'd be like, well, it's just, I'm not afraid to call a spade a slut.
I love that you're saying this to these guys, like thinking like, oh yeah, I'm one of them, and then by the time you finish talking, they've all left to go find these girls that you're calling sluts.
Like, wait, which girls exactly will sleep with me?
Well, we need to take a quick break, but I want to talk more about this whole slut shaming thing because it's a huge thing right now, and I've many opinions, as I do, on all things that I would like to tell all of you about. So we'll be right back with more Morgan Brayton and other people. Welcome back to Morgan Brayton and Other People. Oh, we're just sitting around talking about sluts today. You know how you do with your friends. I know, it's like every time I say the word, I cringe just a tiny bit. I don't think I've quite got there in terms of embracing the word, which makes me feel much like my little blouse I'm wearing, very prudish. And I don't think that I am a very prudish person.
Well,
I
you
feel
did
like I
go
am
to the New Dawn School of Modeling.
I did attend the New Dawn Academy, but that doesn't make me a prude or a slut.
Or a model.
Fair enough. But no, I mean, I feel like, my feminism is very much about, I'm not like anti-porn or any of those things, but maybe that's it. I just think the word slut should stay in porn.
And that's what it is. You and I and Erica grew up in a time when it was a negative thing, when it had a negative connotation.
Right.
Whereas I think the generations after us, it became okay and it wasn't such a negative thing. I think that's why even for me, I have a hard time calling somebody else a slut. I'll own it and have no problem with it. But calling somebody else a slut, I would feel like I'm being a bit of a jerk about it for no reason at all.
There are other words that I'm totally comfortable. Reclaiming isn't the right word, I guess. Embracing, right? But it doesn't
their word.
trip off. That's right. The sluts, they can keep it. I shouldn't. I have no business.
I work in a bar, and Friday nights, I work every Friday night, and I call it Slutty Friday. I put it on the board. It's to bring people in, and like nothing is happening in there that is slutty at all, except I wear a lower cut top and a short skirt. But that is it. Funny. I know, but that's it. But people, they're like, oh, what is Slutty Frat? I'm like, nothing. You can come in on Thursday. It's going to look exactly like this. But it brings people in.
And that's the thing, right? So for instance, and not to disparage them in any way, but there's a group of my ex-students when I used to teach comedy writing who started a sketch group, and they were called the Sketchy Sluts. And I was like, smart, funny, very cool young women. And I was like, but that's, is that how you want people to see your comedy, right? It's not about like, oh, don't call yourself sluts, you're nice young girls. I didn't have a problem with that. It's like, that's what you want people to think of you?
That's the first thing that they'll see. That word has so many connotations that when people see it, they're like, oh my God, this is associated with terrible things.
But see, then that's what I'm like. But that's what I felt like.
If it goes to not be terrible, then yeah, it's like why? Like I find that weird when you look at, for instance, what my niece might wear, right? So she's 15. So in one way, when they make girls go to the front of the class and their skirt is too short, right? They're slut shaming what they're wearing. And in one way, you're like, they should be able to wear whatever they want. And then the other part of me is like, oh, but are they just wearing that because they really need the attention of boys? And you should be your own woman. And so I get lost in this like idea of what is, like wear what you want, but because you want to wear it, not because you want guys to look at your ass.
Right.
And maybe when it's age appropriate. Yeah. I don't have a problem with older women making the decision, knowing who they are and being confident in who they are as
like
women.
Once you get to 60, 70,
wear the short
skirt.
Absolutely. Or when you become into your 40s, wear a super attractive slutty top that show your breasts and your amazing shoulders and arms.
Like just on the cusp of 40.
Like when you're practically into your mid-40s.
Let's be clear that that's why
40s.
there is an embracing of the word is because there were, apparently previously, and we're all done with it now, there's a different standard for women and for men. And so for a woman, you shouldn't have sexual agency, et cetera. So now by embracing this word, it's like, I can have sex with as many people as I want. It's my body. I can do with it what I want. That's my own personal choice. And an empowered kind of a thing, right? So I don't have any issue with the theory behind it, but I think you might have hit on it for me, which is, if you all want to call yourself sluts, I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. But where it falls down for me is when it comes to young women, and I get a little unsure if the messages are clear enough to them, and then what they're putting out there. I'm not convinced it's all clear, and I get really uncomfortable with that.
It's not only just young girls that go through this, it's also young boys that are also going through this, but then they're treated in a totally different way just because of their gender.
Yeah.
Which I think is ridiculous because the word shouldn't only specify one gender and then completely ignore the other. But then if a dude sleeps around, then he's like, oh, he's a stud or a player.
Right.
But only amongst other dudes. I think to a lot of women, it's like, oh, he's carrying a disease.
Yeah, I slept with everybody.
I don't want to sleep with
He's a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I had a friend proudly tell me that he was a man slut, and I was like, that's a funny phrase. But here, let me ask the young people on the panel a question.
Oh, so we can take a break.
You can take a break. Take a knee down there, would you?
I'm just gonna sit here in the middle and like not even sure which.
Join my side.
There you go. Close enough.
But
they're
yanking.
You're old like here. Not buying it. No, that came off a little harsher than I meant it to. I apologize. Okay, so we've seen on the news and social media and stuff the thing of sort of like a competition, like the guys trying to rack up as many as they can. And then, but now I'm remembering that there are comparable things for girls of like how many blowjobs you can give, and this is high school, right? But is it a different, like, it seems like one is sort of a badge of honor as far as guys see it, and the other is a badge of honor as far as guys see it. Like, you know, it's still pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
Or is there, am I missing something because I'm old and I don't know?
Blowjobs are a lot of work, and I think guys, it would just, you're more accomplished because you've done nothing but stand there.
Yeah. Stand and pump. Stand and pump. Oh my God.
Hashtag.
Stand and pump. Oh, the things that are coming out of your mouth today.
I can remember being on the school bus when I was in high school, and I was headed home, and there was guys from my school on the bus, and we passed a girl walking home, and they said like, oh, and they said her name, and they're like, oh man, she's such a slut, and like, y'all just like phone her up, and she's like hops on her little bike and comes over and sucks my dick, and I was sitting there just so confused because they of course had no interest in me because I was like this pretty nothing, but I was like, but don't you like getting your dick sucked? Because you're talking like you don't like her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. I was like, you don't like me, so I don't suck your dick. You don't like her, because she does suck
I wonder
your
if
dick.
they act notes so nonchalant when their dick is being sucked. They're like, oh, you're not even good at this.
And it probably wasn't even being sucked. Like, they probably were making that up. Like, they didn't even know
They
that
know
girl.
one of the guys that's had that happen to them. That's probably it. They know other guys who can call that girl and she'll get on her bike and suck their
And
dick,
this is
but they've never had it
landline
happen.
days, right?
Like their mom answered.
Calling a landline?
And their mom went,
I don't buy it.
But there was always that girl in high school, right? That was like the slut, and everyone would say that she would X, Y, Z. And you know what? In hindsight, I don't think she did. I think that was just a thing that guys
Did
made
it
up.
once, and
Once,
then everyone
right.
just...
Yeah.
I had a reputation for being a slut that I didn't even know about.
Oh, that is so unfair.
I know. So as it happened, so I used to, as a swimmer, at that time in grade 11, I was averaging about 16 kilometers a day swimming, and when you do that, the straps on your bathing suit will rub very aggressively.
They thought you had hickeys.
All the time, both sides of my shoulders were just
back?
covered.
On your shoulders?
Yeah, because it would like rub up like this and it would come up on my neck. And every day I had them, and they were just like raw and bruised. And obviously was never dating anyone at the school. And everyone just quietly thought that I was, and nobody mentioned it.
Oh, they mentioned it to each other.
But then when I did find out, I was like, and still I wasn't popular.
Yeah. How come they weren't
Because
like,
they thought that
look,
you only liked people sucking on your back.
Yeah.
So,
Not a lot of people
that
are
was too
into.
weird for them.
too weird.
We gotta take a break, but I have more questions about Katie Allen's proclivities. And maybe if they're juicy, we'll let you know after the break. Welcome back to Morgan, Brayton, and Other People. We're talking about the S word today. I'm trying to say it as little as possible because I'm a lady. Oh,
confused.
I know. I should just say it.
Took it back.
Sluts. We're talking about sluts. We're talking about sluts. We are not.
That is the only thing we are not doing.
I asked before if it's different for straight women compared to lesbians, but I think in general with the queer community, it's a bit of a different ballgame altogether. Would you agree, or?
I would agree, but I think it's different within the queer community as well, because you look at lesbians who generally hunker down and are with one person for quite some time. There's not a lot of promiscuity within that. In my experience,
We've been hanging out in different circles.
Let me just say, they all like date each other for
Right.
sure, but it's not quite as like one night standish and all of that in my world. But with gay men, as far as I know and from what I understand, there is quite a bit more out there-ness. They have parties where, you know, I'm sure lesbians do too, and I want to say that we don't have.
encounters.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like during Pride, they have parties.
But I think that within the women's community, though, it's an interesting thing because we still live in a sexist society, and so that happens all the time where like butches can f anybody, anything that moves, and that's kind of what bros do, you know. Whereas femmes, not so much. Not that all lesbians are butch or femme, but in my world, they are. But it is an interesting thing that the patriarchy is so infused into every part of society that even you got a short haircut and some baggy pants, you can fuck anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Gonna cut my
hot
hair.
tip.
Yeah, change your uniforms, guys.
There you go. Shake things up a little.
Yeah.
I feel like the important part that I really don't want to miss in all of this is, we have the slut walk and what the reason behind that is, right? It's that you should be able to wear whatever you want, no matter how slutty it is, and not be a victim of violence. Because you shouldn't say, well, oh, while you were wearing a short skirt, of course you got raped, right? Like, that's unacceptable.
That's crazy.
So it doesn't matter what we wear. We still don't ever deserve to be victims of sexual violence, right? So I want to be really sure that we're not just like, it's a funny word, because there is a really serious thing behind it. And again, though, going back to the young girl thing, I think this is where it falls down for me. Like I always say when I'm bike riding with my son, bear with me, there is a point here. And he's like, he flies through an intersection. He says, they have a stop sign, they have to stop. And I said, well, yeah, and I'll tell them that when you're dead because you blew through the, and so it's a problematic, I'm gonna get my feminist card revoked, it's a problematic comparison to make because it's not like, well, you wore a short skirt and you got raped and so you should have known better, because I don't ever want I never want that to be the message. And also, young girls, when they're just like, I'm a slut, and get themselves into situations that they can't handle, and bad things happen, because they do in those kind of situations, it doesn't matter if you're right. The end result can be the same. And so that's where with young women, I get a bit nervous. Am I just a terrible feminist?
Yes, but
'Kay.
also, I think, like, if you think about, it's only been a little over 100 years since women have had the right to vote, since we aren't considered property. So we have so many things that in 100 years we're grappling with, like, how are we going to be powerful women, and are we still going to be mothers, and are we sluts, and we like sex, and so it's not going to happen overnight. And I think all these tiny steps are helping, because I feel the same way. Like, you see someone dressed in a certain way, and the comparison that I think is ridiculous is somebody's like, well, look how slutty she was. She was dressed, and so she wanted to have sex that day. Yeah, but she wanted to choose the person. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you might get all dressed, slutted up, and go out, but still, at the end of the day, you wanted to choose the person you're gonna f***. You don't want to be raped.
Yeah.
And I think, so...
And I do think, like, I agree with you about all the things that have come along in the time since we had the right to vote and stuff, but I worry that we are digressing a bit with it, with the internet and with pornography being so available to young kids and stuff, because when I was in high school, we weren't, I know there were some girls that were, but we weren't in competition with who could give as many blowjobs. When I hear...
Lucky for the other girls at your school.
Yeah.
I don't
But do you know what I mean? Like when you hear about young girls at 13, 14 that are having sex because they're supposed to and they have to, that was not going on when I was in high school at all.
I could not wear enough buttons with my first boyfriend. So many buttons. Like, just like,
But is it
like up
any
to here.
different than us from our parents' generation, right? Like I remember my parents always saying, oh, Grammy used to freak out every time Elvis came on and shook his pelvis on the television and everybody was going to hell, right?
Yeah,
so is it any different or is it
But it's
just...
more dangerous now.
I think
That's
it's
the
pretty
thing.
different now because like kids before, had to like find porn like stashed somewhere, and now they're like, ooh, the internet in my palm all of the time.
I get to do this to a girl,
Yeah.
especially that girl who's willing to give it up in grade 7.
It like totally desensitizes them, and then that's just the world that they see, and that's not what the reality of it is. And I think that there needs to be education with kids to like tell them that that's not the case.
Shut down the internet.
Yeah, everybody, let's
And
power
harsher
down the
punishment.
internet.
I do think that's something there has to be harsher punishment about too in society. And I don't think there should be slut shaming. I think there should be people that take advantage of sluts. They should be shamed and beaten with their own shoe.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You wanted to say something.
Oh, I was going to say, I do think that the education piece that does exist as well, because the more kids know about sex, like there would have been a period of time when someone was victimized by sex and doesn't even know that they were because they don't know what that is.
Yeah. No, and that's why I think it's a good thing. And I think talking about sex, empowering young people, young women and young men, but being really clear that part of the whole slut thing is not just cute outfits, but is being empowered and making those decisions, like you say. Yeah, you can go out and want to have sex, but you get to choose who, or you get to choose not to do it at all.
Yeah. And the right reasons to do it, not because you feel like you should.
I will drink to that. Yeah. Cheers, hot sluts. hot sluts who are in control of their own bodies and could do whatever they want with them and don't let anybody tell you any differently. See you next time on Morgan, Brayton, and Other People. Ooh. That's a slut. Let's use slutty, like, you know how Smurf? Smurf would mean anything, so like, let's get Smurfing. Like, this is a slutty drink. I slut this drink.